All right, guys, welcome back to another year of Go Bold or Go Home podcast for this fantasy football season. I am excited for this. I think this is going to be one of more fun years as we had a very interesting and very touted rookie class come in. Looking at you, Dylan, with your Bijan hype train, which I believe in too, so personally, I think it's a great move. But anyway, let's go ahead and dive in. We're going to be knocking through our record league for Dynasty first, and then we'll get into the Keeper League to finish the video. Today's special is we're going to be doing the season right by starting off predicting our pretenders and contenders. So I'll go through, we'll see how many of you guys I actually think have a chance this year to contend for a championship, and how many of you guys I think you need to start selling probably by week 4. So, which, just saying, not saying I'm a buyer, but we'll find out. Okay, starting off, Dynasty League. I think it's pretty safe to say Dylan getting Bijan and Jahmyr Gibbs is broken. I don't know how we allow that. I also apologize for my part in building his roster, but that happened anyways. Anyway, looking at Dylan's team, I mean, it's hard not to say, and this hurts me. I think part of my soul is leaving my body saying this, but contender. I mean, it's clear as day. I think Atlanta is only going to run the ball, which is why, by the way, I got rid of Drake London. I just don't think they have the quarterback situation yet there. I don't think Atlanta themselves are going to be a strong team, but I do think they're going to pound that rock with Bijan. You're also going to have Jahmyr Gibbs, who I think is going to be great. Especially if it's a PPR league, which we'll get to later with Keeper. But here in Dynasty, half PPR, I do think Jahmyr Gibbs still will be a solid option, especially late in the year. Chris Olave, I think, is underrated. Saints are going to be airing it out pretty much with Derek Carr. He's going to be getting a lot of touches because I don't think Michael Thomas ever stays healthy. And then again, like when you have George Kittle and Sam Laporta, who I've been known to be high on, I think you're set. Now, I do question his bench and his depth, why he has 3 tight ends on the team. I will never know. Ramondre's not going to do nothing, I think. I think he's overhyped big time. And again, I don't know what Dylan's thing is with like toxic relationship with Najee Harris, but we'll see how that goes as well. Moving forward, Denton Hot Wings. All right. This team is interesting. Quarterback, one of your top 5 fantasy quarterbacks right there, Josh Allen. You got bailed out with Josh Jacobs finally showing up. That is the nice thing. Cam Akers is always this is going to be his year, this is the breakout year, and then he, for some reason, never breaks out. So we'll see how that goes. I think really your strength is going to come from the wide receiver position. But with that said, you have no depth at the wide receiver position besides George Pickens. Gabe Davis, I moved off him last season because he was hyped up and everything, and he's the 3rd option on that team, so sometimes the 4th. So it's very, very tough for him to get traction there consistently. That said, definitely Homer. You can see all the Buffalo picks. So with that said, Sean, I would say we'll see how this goes, especially since Dalvin Cook kind of screwed you over by splitting carries on the Jets instead of going somewhere he could be the lead back. So yeah, I'm going to call you a pretender. I do not think this year, sorry, not sorry, I think it's sell time by week 4, week 5. See what you could get. You do have some interesting pieces to build around rookie-wise. But yeah, I think some of your guys just got screwed over in the offseason, so it kind of hurts. Oh, the League of Kickers. Gotta love that. If only he had like kickers in this league and we can draft like 5, and I guarantee they all be on this team. Looking at that, as I look at this team, wide receiver strength right off the bat. I do not really care for the starting running backs outside of Eckler. I think Miles Sanders is greatly overrated, especially going to a Carolina team with a starting to rebuild O-line. You got Zavala they took, who could be a nice speech down the line. But it's early and he's still got to develop. There'll be some growing pains. James Conner, I'm telling you now, Arizona's tanking hard, and I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up not getting much touches late on as the season goes on. Pat Fryermuth is an interesting tight end. He's one that will get you a bunch of fantasy points, but at the same time, he's not going to be your top five guy. He'll hang around like the 5 to 10 range, which is good for a tight end. But to me, you can find that with a lot of tight ends in that area. I do love the rookies here, though. The young guys on this team are your future is going to be bright, but unfortunately, the future isn't now. I'm going to say pretender. All right, moving forward, we got the wonderful Hold Up, Let 'em Cook by yours truly. And why I would love to sit here and say I am a contender in every way. And I know Dylan's out there screaming that I am a contender because somehow I'll do some black dark magic to make my team amazing and stream just the right options every week. But in reality, I think right now it's pretty clear I'm entering the season more in the pretender range. I think all the standing projections even put me that. I went young. I definitely went young. I am banking on a lot of luck with Rashad White, James Cook hitting on those. I love my wide receiver depth. Scary Terry's probably the only question mark I feel like wide receiver wise, and that's just because Dotson's coming out of nowhere. You know me, my son Sky Moore. I'm going to ride and die with him. But I will say I'm excited for the future next year with my running back depth. Got Jalen Warren, who I'm calling future Tony Pollard or Tony Pollard 2.0. And then I got Mr. Roshan, A-Chain, and like I said, Cook and White. I feel like we saw it there. But we'll see. I do like my chances as a dark horse, but again, there's no way I get with a straight face I'm a contender. Ooh, game of Mahomes. Ooh, so this any team with Patrick Mahomes, you feel like has to be a contender, right? Like pretty solid. Now the only weird thing is with the running back situation, you got Mr. Fragile break bones, Christian McCaffrey, but hey, the 49ers did admit that they're going to lessen his touches, better or for worse for you as a fantasy owner, just to try and keep him healthy. So let's hope that works and he stays healthy and at least get you some points. Kenneth Walker, though, like obviously Seattle drafted another running back in Charbonnet, which is interesting because you also took Charbonnet in a rookie draft. So I guess I do not understand the taking both running backs on the same team like that. Just to me, I'm like, what are you doing? But hey, go for it. Tony Pollard, though, I think is going to have a year, especially in fantasy. So I gotta say it. I gotta say, Steve, you're a contender, 100%. AJ Brown, very solid. DK Metcalf's going to be targeted heavy. I love Dotson, your son there. I don't really care for your bench staff too much. I think some of it might be a bit too high. I think Chase Brown's not going to do anything this year. He's the next year pick. Might be good. But you also have some age on your bench, which basically includes Elijah Mitchell. I just think, yes, he's young, but at the same time, running back wise, they age faster, and he has Christian McCaffrey ahead of him. If McCaffrey, who is also on your bench or on your team, again, makes no sense to me. But hey, if there's injuries to your starters, at least you got the backups already. So I guess you're hoping for injury. I don't know, but anyways, I will say contender, but you're like that fringe contender. All right, suit and tie, tailor made. Well, you've had a terrible off season, and I do apologize for that pain you're going through. Um, it all starts off as one Jonathan Taylor. I even was talking to a coworker friend who he decided to not listen to me when he was doing his draft night, and I kept banging on the table, do not take Jonathan Taylor, do not take Jonathan Taylor, do not take Jonathan Taylor. And this was ahead of uh, the waiver cut down and trade potential to Miami because I was like, it's not happening and there's no way. I kept telling him to take other people, whoever is best available besides Taylor. And his wife said, "Oh, I like that name." And he took Jonathan Taylor, so he is now screwed. Um, I feel the same way here. Obviously, we're going to have the issues. You look at it. Uh, Aaron Jones getting older. We'll see how he does in the offense without Aaron Rodgers. Hopefully, they go more running back heavy, but it all depends. They do like Jordan Love there. They're going to probably try and air it out a bit, but at the same time, they're obviously going to do a lot of screen action with Aaron Jones. We'll see also how much he gets touchdown poached by Dylan. Brian Robinson had a breakout year, but at the same time, you still have Antonio Gibson there that's going to steal some of the passes and stuff like that. DJ Moore, I think, is a great pick. DJ Moore is going to be solid this year. I'm expecting great things there. Devontae Smith, less so. I think like he's good, and talent wise, he's a great player. But at the same time, he's wide receiver 2 behind AJ Brown and a run heavy offense. So he'll have some games where he has a breakout game, gets a lot of targets, gets a couple touchdowns, and it'll be huge. But there's going to be some games where he's going to have like 4 receptions for 50 yards and no touchdowns. And you're just going to have to guess on that. Travis Kelce will get you a ton of points. Keenan Allen, always solid. Brees Hall, I think, is going to be good by the end of the year, but he is going to get some touchdowns poached from him now. As I look at your team now, I'd love to do spawn pick. That was a steal. So I'm going to have to say, and honestly, if you had Jonathan Taylor, you'd be contender. But without Jonathan Taylor, I think you're going to be pretender. That's my pick right here. I think you'll be fringe to getting close to contending, maybe a trade away. But as long as Jonathan Taylor is not doing much, it's going to hurt you. All right. Oh no, my dig small, Colton. I know you're ready for this. Well, you got banked out lucky with Saquon. You almost had your Jonathan Taylor situation, so that's exciting. But I mean, just looking at the starting lineup, you're 100% contender. Like, I honestly have you as my favorite in the league this year. When you have Lamar, Chubb, Jamar Chase, and Barkley and Diggs as like your starting group with Tyreek Hill playing flex, insane. There's a reason you lack draft capital coming up, and it's because your team is freaking loaded. Um, Now, the only problem with your team, I mean, you do have Dobbins on your bench, Marquise Brown, but again, he doesn't have a quarterback anymore, and Quentin Johnson. But outside of that, yeah, your bench is pretty old and kind of fragile, and let's just hope. Well, we'll just see what happens, type thing. If your team goes stays healthy, and I'll like hit not even just projections, like just get close to their projections, your team is clear runaway favorite. All right. Big Nick Energy, gotta look at that team. It's very, you already got Bryce Young as quarterback. You're putting a lot of trust into that, but hey, Russell Wilson, let him cook on your bench, Broncos country. Mike Evans, getting older, quarterback situations is iffy. We'll see what happens there. I think a lot with your team. Obviously, we have a lot of Broncos, which interesting, and you're already taking IR hits with Tim Patrick, Jared Judy, who knows with him. P Ryan having to start for you is also kind of interesting. Like I get it, especially with the running back situation up there. But you're already relying on Dante Foreman, who, yes, he's the lead back in Chicago, but he has a very low ceiling. Samaje P. Ryan and Alvin Kamara's out for the first few weeks. That's just going to suck. And you also have a free agent in Leonard Fournette on your bench. So I think you need to make some moves. Hopefully, we'll see what happens. But this is a pretender team right here. So definitely need to make some trades if you don't want to finish last. All right, looking under construction. Well, definitely in the middle of a rebuild. We could see that, but got some youth. Love the Isaiah Pacheco pickup. That was a good move, especially in trying to get younger at the running back position. Joe Mixon, he'll be solid. He's not going to be your like top tier guy, that be drafted right at the top, like your McCaffreys, your Bijans, your Nick Chubb, Jonathan Taylor, Saquon. But he's definitely a RB1. That's for sure. The only thing with him is as he gets his contract window, we'll see what the Bengals end up doing. Deshaun Watson, um, hopefully he gets back to his 3 years ago Deshaun Watson, because if he's anything like last year's Deshaun Watson and that's here to stay, good luck. We'll see what happens there. Jalen Waddle, Mark Cooper, love those. Love the receiver core there. Um, Dalton Schultz, we'll see in Houston. Maybe they'll give him a lot more touches, but I feel like he might end up now being more relegated to checkdowns, and like he'll get some passing opportunities and a lot of receptions, but I don't see him being as productive as he was in Dallas, just scheme wise. Um, your bench pretty good. Got JSN, John Mechie, uh, Tanks Bigsby, great bench pickup right there from the draft, and you also got Zay Jones, who I love. But overall, I think your team is just getting too old. Still working on getting younger, but there's some move. You're a few moves away before you get to contender status, so going to be pretender. Finally, Peanut Butter Cup. Well, as long as Cooper Cup doesn't have another major injury, because it sounds like reports he's still dealing with his hamstrings. So we'll see how that goes. But if he comes back healthy, this is an easy contender as well. Justin Fields, I expect to have a breakout year. I'm not going as high as he's going to be like your top 5 quarterback at the end of the year, like some people might think. But I do think he's going to cement himself as at least a franchise quarterback for the Bears, which will be nice for him. And fantasy, I think he'll present himself as a top 10 fantasy quarterback, fringe top 5, where he's going to obviously add a lot rushing touchdowns, things like that. But at the same time, I wouldn't put him as your top 3 guys for sure. Travis Etienne, I'm high on. I really like this year coming off healthy. Full year, I think that Jags offense, everyone on that offense is going to explode this year. I'm excited to see how that looks. Derrick Henry, I think this might be his last year as fantasy relevant as like one of the kings. But, age is starting to hit him. We'll see what happens as he kind of gets the wear and tear of being run into the ground by Tennessee. I think you're going to have a DeMarco Murray situation where he's a beast and dominates, and then all of a sudden, his last 2 years is just going to be a big drop. So I'm calling the cliff theory there. Drake London, I'm super low on, but hey, you take him, run with him. Again, just not a huge fan of that situation in Atlanta for him. Javonte Williams, as soon as he gets back to his former self, would be a beast, but we do have to wait and see how that Saints offense looks. If they decide to let Russ cook and let him pass, or if they Sean Payton, which I do believe I like Sean Payton as a coach, I could see him easily being like, all right, Russ, you're going to cook on play action plays only. So we'll see what happens. Love your rookie draft, though. Receivers, Rashee Rice is going to be good. Not this year, but next year. But outside of that, I think Zach Evans is nice on your bench. Trevor Lawrence as a bench is great. DeAndre Swift is a good pick. But this is probably your last year. I'm putting you as a contender, unless you get really young real fast. But you are a contender this year. All right. So that's it for my Dynasty League. I do think that's where I'm having everyone. I'm excited for some of the trades coming up. Now let's go ahead and look for those that are keeper that you're just skipping to this part, or for those that are in both leagues and just kind of hanging in. Thanks for hanging in. Going to go ahead and do a brief intermission. Just say that this video is unofficially brought to you by Taco Bell. Oh, you can't see because the green screen. There it is. Taco Bell fuels you after your workout. aka it's cheap, it's easy, and I could just get basically straight beef and lettuce and unsweet tea. So golden. All right, moving forward to keeper. Let's go. All right, going into keeper. Alec, starting with your team here. Obviously, you were kind of a powerhouse. Definitely Justin Jefferson, J. Jeff. He's a beast. I love Warren. I still think he's solid. Again, Tony Pollard in the future. We'll see if I'm correct in that bold prediction, but we'll see it. Again, you kind of got screwed over with both Jonathan Taylor and then Brees Hall getting a Dalvin Cook added to that room. Damian Harris, I honestly am super low on, but that's also because I'm a James Cook owner, so we'll see how that goes. I think looking at receiver room, you're stacked receiver wise. Looking at your running back room, I think that's your biggest hole is you need running back help, especially if Jonathan Taylor decides to set out and go old school Le'Veon Bell. We'll see what happens there. And you also don't want to fall into that 4 or 5 week hole where you're having to come back to make the playoffs. So right now, pretender. Hayden ETN these nuts, which you still got to change your team name since someone else has ETN now. But I do love your running backs. You got some really young studs in that RB room. Bijan and Damian Pierce, solid picks. Jamar Chase, Garrett Wilson at the wide receiver position is insane. So I think you're a clear contender in this league. I have you as my title favorite this year, actually. Only thing I think is quarterback. But if you end up being right with the development of Anthony Richardson into like a dual threat top tier, not top tier quarterback, but top tier fantasy quarterback, then yeah, you're stacked and good luck picking who you're keeping at the end of the season. Plus, kicker, you have the best kicker, so like, who cares? Oh, Steven, 2 girls, 1 cup. Lamar Jackson, beast, but you're having the same problem I talked about in the Dynasty League where with Derrick Henry is you got an aging running back who's about to hit a cliff. You got Cooper Kupp who is starting to become injury prone due to the high usage. Hopefully he comes back and especially in full PPR helps you as well. Christian Watson, I'm actually low on. I think like he's a good bench receiver. I don't have him as a starting wide receiver, and that's me personally just because again, I have a little trust issue with Jordan Love. Um, I don't see him airing it out too much too well. I think they're going to try. I just don't think the Packers are going to be that good this year. But T Higgins, you got the second to third guy on the Bengals. Good for you. But Jamar Chase is going to steal a lot of the action there. Um, Overall, Cameron Dicker, love that kicker pick. Dicker to kicker, UT guy, so big fan of that. Bench wise, though, I think your bench needs some RB help bad when Montgomery is your and Swift are your bench. And Swift, again, please blink if you need help. You're in a hostage relationship. You fell in love with your hostage taker in Swift. Please seek help. Moving on, Andre's team. So Justin Fields again. I think he's gonna have a good year, like a really good year. Stevenson, not so much. Joe Mixon, we'll see. I don't think he's going to be super big fantasy wise, but I think he'll do his usual heavy running use, especially late in games, to kind of put the game away. But he's probably going to get 1, 2 touchdowns here and there in a game. But I don't think he's going to have any high ceiling games. I think he's just going to be your good RB1, borderline RB2 guy. DeAndre Hopkins, I'm actually low on. I think it's going to be just the same like Julio Jones when it's all hype, goes somewhere and then it's like, oh, he's actually washed now. I don't think he's washed yet, but he's not going to dominate like he used to dominate, especially in the Tennessee offense. Quentin Johnson, though, meanwhile, I do have high hopes for. I think he'll be good. George Kittle, injury prone, be solid. And then Cam Akers, like I said earlier, I don't think he's going to be. We've been waiting for him to have a breakout year, just hasn't happened. So we'll see what happens there. That said, looking at your bench, I love A-Chain. I think that's a good solid pickup on your bench. We'll see how he goes later on. Jameson Williams, if he could get him out of the casino, maybe he'll start to show up and play. But hey, it's a bench spot. We'll see what happens. Anyway, going to look at it and call it pretender. And that's mainly just because I think you need some wide receiver help, and I don't like your flex with Akers personally. I think you have a lot of young guys like JSN as well that it could end up working out for you in the long run. I just think you're going to get a hole early. Almond Raw Dog it. All right. Full rebuild team. I know and it is bold of me to say, and this one might sound a little biased, but if you saw in the Dynasty video, I did call myself a pretender there and said it was clear. But here, I think I'm an underdog, dark horse contender. I'm going to call it just because Tony Pollard's going to ball out this year. I have high expectations for ETN. I think that Jags offense is going to be explosive. St. Brown, Sun God, I think I love Sun God. Colton knows that because every time we talk about him, I'm just like, I'm untouchable, Sun God. Chris Olave, I think, is going to have a great year with the Saints. I love Laporta. I think he's going to become the next DJ Hawkinson for Detroit. And DJ Moore is one of my favorite draft pickups I made. Kicker wise, which is funny that I'm thinking, oh my God, kicker, we'll see how that works out. It looks like San Francisco is going to stay with Moody. I hope so because I just love the name because I could say Moody got booty or something like that. And then my bench is just all banking on these rookies or like year two guys that are going to hit, hoping that they do really well by the end of the year and become great flex positions that I could put in if I need to. Underrated ones obviously going to be Zay Flowers, Deuce Vaughn, and Sky Moore. But also having Dotson and Cook on my bench makes me feel like I have contender status, especially at the end of the season. Uh, Moving on, Brady Bunch. I mean, this team, how do we let someone get Diggs, Tyreek Hill, and Austin Eckler on the same team? It's insane to me. When his bench also includes George Pickens and Brian Robinson, I think that's good. You also have Mike Evans. Like, I think solid team. Only thing is, this is also, there's a lot of injury chance with some of these guys. So, injury or two away from being a contender to a pretender. But right now, I think you are a contender. I do love the Broncos defense. I think your receivers in a full PPR league are going to dominate. Aaron Rodgers, I still think has some in the tank. I think, especially with the Jets, he's going to look pretty good, especially fantasy wise early. Austin Eckler's going to be a beast. Javonte, if healthy, is going to be a beast. But you have like no RB depth whatsoever outside of Brian Robinson. And, maybe Bryce Young develops as well, and that might be a solid position at the end. But I do think you need to make an RB move. But for now, you are a contender as long as you're healthy. Rolling with my homies. Oh, Alexander Madison, did that not work out for you this offseason? So great move there. CD Lamb, beast. Patrick Mahomes, beast. Josh Jacobs got bailed out, but beast. So I think this is going to be a very strong team. That said, I am not a fan of the bench. I think the bench is going to be your weak spot in a big way. So there'll be weeks where you'll be struggling because you got to figure out who's going to cover during a bye week on something. Because like Dalvin Cook, he'll be okay in the Jets, but the Jets have made it clear that he's RB2 there. Juju, I'm low on, especially on a New England offense. New England offense without post Brady. And then Mostert, like he's just always in that like 3 games in and injury prone. This is the guy that trusted Mostert the first years of this season, and he broke my heart every time he was healthy, and then got hurt. So right now, I'm gonna say contender, same situation though. Like I guarantee, I'm putting it now. One of your starters goes out with an injury, even if it's like 4 weeks. I think that's it. And I think that's going to cost you unless you make a trade or something to fill that spot. But you need depth bad. Colton, Quan Solo. Oh, Josh Allen. This team, it's a Colton team. It's got Barkley on it. It's got Josh Allen on it. That's the summary of whose team is it. It's Colton. Rashad White, I think, is going to have a big year. So running back room, 100%. Jalen Waddle, PPR, God. DK Metcalf's going to be a god out there. I love the double tight end idea, except I don't because it's me and anti-tight end over here. So I do think that's probably where I'd say your weakest spot, but that's not something that kills people when you have a weak spot at tight end. I think you could do flex better, maybe with Pacheco, Marquise Brown, or Thielen. We'll see. But at the same time, I love your team. Good, solid contender to me. There's not many holes on your team. Again, outside of maybe tight end, but we'll see how that works out. Aaron Rodgers, Queenasembi, I don't know how you're pronouncing that. I'm assuming that's right. Gotta go. Nick Chubb, solid. Mark Cooper, I love. We talked about that from ages. Honestly, though, pretender to me. Miles Sanders, I'm not high on him. I personally not a big Tyler Higbee guy. He's solid, but he's never going to really raise your team up. Joe Burrow, always really good, but uh, I think Chris Godwin's going to have a down year. I think your bench guys aren't that strong too. Um, like looking at your team, I think you'll be a fringe on making the playoffs, but right now I have you as a pretender. High Tide Heroes. Looking at your team, we got obviously dual threat Daniel Jones, but you're like Walmart brand this dual threat quarterback. So we'll see how the Giants do with him. I think honestly he'll be okay, serviceable, but you could probably upgrade on that. Aaron Jones, we're going to see he'll probably get a lot of screen action, so I think that will help you out. Khalil Herbert, on the other hand, I think as the season goes on, he's going to lose some more and more touches. Um, he's also been hurt a few times. Nothing major, but always gets like a couple games where he has to sit out. So we'll see how that works for him as well. Um, Devontae Smith, like I said earlier, I think he's a little overrated. I'm pretty sure like he's a great wide receiver too on a team, but he's not gonna be like a beast or anything. PPR, he might get 5, 6 receptions a game. I don't see him dominating in a run heavy offense. So uh, especially when he's wide receiver too on his own team. Kyle Pitts, he's a PPR. He'll get a ton of targets and receptions, but can't score a touchdown. I know, but he'll score maybe one or two touchdowns this year. Uh, Maybe less though, because Bijan's there. Um, Looking at your bench, Tanks Bigsby, Love. I think Algier's still a solid bench running back because he'll still get a couple touches here and there, just give Bijan some rest. Uh, Nico Collins thinks is a good pickup as well. Jerry Judy still hasn't hit yet, but we'll see how that works out. Anyway, looking at your team, I think pretender is the way to look at it right now. Betting on Ridley, the rebuilded team. Let's see, J.K. Dobbins, think that's a good move. We like J.K. Dobbins. He's a solid running back if he's healthy, and that's the big if because it's like every year he's not healthy. Christian McCaffrey, you're also the wrong step away from losing your running backs basically over here. Love the team name because Ridley, you're really banking on him coming back to the same form in a high-powered Jacks offense. We'll see how they do. Brandon Cooks, I think, is going to ball out a bit this year, especially with touchdowns. He may not get all the targets, as those will probably go to CD in the tight end group, but I do think that the man is going to dominate when it comes to big plays and touchdowns. James Conner, we'll see. Waller, I do really like at the tight end position, especially for targets. Looking at your bench as well, I think your bench is solid. You got some great wide receivers depth on your bench. But when it comes to RB depth, Jerick McKinnon, he's a very difficult play because he's hit and miss. It really just depends. Maybe he'll get the PPR action, though. That will help you. Zach Charbonnet, preseason didn't look too strong, but, he's a rookie. He could develop. We'll see what happens there. But again, injury away, do like your roster. I think you're almost a contender, which is saying a lot based on first year in the league coming in and trying to rebuild instantly. So you're getting moving in the right direction here. And the Adams family, Jahmyr Gibbs, love Jahmyr Gibbs, think that's a great pick. Antonio Gibson, less high on, especially as a starter. I think you'd probably have better luck trying to find another running back. But with Alvin Kamara suspended, I do see where you're kind of stuck in that position. Wide receiver wise, though, I mean, if only Deebo Samuel could be your running back because you have a lot of wide receiver depth. High on that. Christian Kirk, I think, is underrated. Obviously, Michael Thomas, as long as he stays healthy, which is a big if on him, you're golden there. I'm pretty sure you're going to be great with Kelsey, Debo, Adams combination. Again, Jahmyr Gibbs, I think, will be really good. We'll see how this works out for you. I think Tua's going to have another good year as well. So that is it for this first Go Bold or Go Home podcast of the season. I will see you guys next week as we recap week 1 and look into week 2, see some matchups, talk about things like that. I'm going to go ahead and stop my share, go full screen with you guys, and just say, hey, I'm excited for this. Thanks for following every year on this and getting excited about it, and looking forward to keep this going as the season goes on. And let's talk some trash.